Everybody.
Pete, purple, I mean, go before that. That nigga. Talk about.
You know, I just looked at the link you sent me for that outfit that I had told you about from your birthday.
Oh yeah, that Casablanca.
How much you spent on that?
I put that shit on.
I ain't gonna lie, that motherfucker look.
This is the story of Tyrone Davis. On December 27, 2025, a 911 call reported an injured man on Southwest Archer Road near the I-75 overpass in Gainesville, Florida. When first responders arrived, they found Tyrone Davis, 38, with severe head trauma. He was transported to a local hospital and admitted as a John Doe. 2 days later, on December 29th, he died. His family was told he slipped and fell at a gas station. Then they were told he jumped from a moving vehicle while in traffic. Medical staff at the hospital told them something different. His injuries were not consistent with falling, being pushed, or anything involving a moving vehicle. Tyrone had traveled to Florida with his girlfriend for a planned getaway. 2 people left on vacation. Only one returned home. For 24 hours, Tyrone lay in a hospital bed with no name. His girlfriend did not identify him. She did not stay at the hospital. The family received no notification. When they finally found him, he had a skull fracture from blunt force trauma to the back of his head.
Members of a man who died in Gainesville in December say the information they're receiving is inconsistent.
Gainesville police officers say his death is not suspicious. Well, TV20's Kayla Lewis joins us now along Archer Road, where officers say the man was found. Kayla, what are family members saying is the most frustrating part of the investigation?
Family members of Tyrone Davis Jr. say the most frustrating part about his death is the unknown. They say they don't believe he jumped out of a moving car. Gainesville police officers say on December 27th, officers came to the area of Southwest Archer Road and I-75 after receiving reports of an injured person. Detectives say their initial investigation determined Davis did jump out of a moving vehicle while in traffic, saying he sustained significant injuries to his head. After a few days at the hospital, he died. Family members say they don't believe he would jump out of a car and say it doesn't make sense why his girlfriend, who was supposedly driving, would leave him on the side of the road. Davis's father says to him, justice is having the full story.
He didn't deserve this, you know. All I really want, you know, is answers to what belongs to me, you know. I'm not asking for, no GoFundMes, no money, no nothing. I just want candles, and prayers and answers, And as a father, what more can you ask?
The Gainesville Police Department determined the death was not suspicious. The investigation, they say, is ongoing. The medical examiner's report shows injuries inconsistent with the official explanation. No charges have been filed. No person of interest has been named. The girlfriend has not spoken publicly. Tyrone Davis Sr. has one simple request. All I really want is answers. This is the complete story, every action, every chilling detail. Welcome to Everyday True Crime. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. Stay with us for more gripping investigations and raw true crime stories delivered daily. Now let's dive in.
I just come up with stuff and it just hit me and I do it. I ain't lie. Yes. I love girly mama and I'm expressing it everywhere I can. Amen. Forever and ever and ever.
We really got I love you on our cabbage.
It's about you. Merry Christmas. What you talking about?
All right, so I just won the Chipotle card. Baby, you are next. Let's see. But you didn't really eat Chipotle like that, so it's like, yeah. Okay, come on. What you gonna do? Four. Okay, pick four.
What they know? Okay, green machine.
Okay.
Oh, this not supposed to be like that though. But it's all good. I want to stop.
Talking. Ooh, it's your favorite color.
Definitely blue. You know, Lou. What they do.
Tyrone Davis Jr., known to his community as DRO or T2, built his career as a professional long-haul trucker. The trucking profession is not simply a job but a lifestyle that demands extended periods away from home, navigating thousands of miles of highways, and managing the solitude that comes with life on the road. For Tyrone, trucking represented more than employment. It was a calling that he embraced fully, finding purpose in the independence and responsibility that comes with transporting goods across state lines. The trucking community operates with its own culture and bonds. Drivers communicate through CB radios, share information about road conditions, and look out for one another in an industry where isolation is constant. Within this community, Tyrone established a reputation. Fellow truckers knew him as someone reliable, someone who took pride in his work. The profession carries inherent risks: fatigue from long hours, mechanical failures, dangerous weather conditions, and the constant presence of other vehicles on crowded highways. Tyrone understood these risks and navigated them as part of his daily routine. Beyond the physical act of driving, Tyrone created a parallel presence in the digital space. He maintained active social media accounts, primarily on Instagram, where he developed a following based on consistent motivational content. His signature series, #MORNINGMOTIVATONWITHDRO, became a daily ritual for his followers. Each morning, he would post messages intended to inspire and encourage others facing their own challenges. His catchphrase, "You feel me," became a recognizable signature that his audience associated with his authentic communication style. The phrase appeared repeatedly in his posts, creating a connection with followers who felt they understood his perspective and appreciated his direct approach to motivation. These were not polished corporate motivational speeches, but rather genuine reflections from someone who understood working-class struggles and the grind of daily labor. The hashtags he used and that others used to reference him tell a story of identity. #Justice4DRO would later become a rallying cry. #IAMTORNEDVSJR established his full identity. #Davistrong reflected family solidarity. And #IamATrucker connected him to his professional community. His social media presence was not about self-promotion, but about building a community of people who needed encouragement to face another day. Outside his public persona, Tyrone existed as a son, father, and cousin within a close family structure. His father, Tyrone Davis Sr., raised a son who took responsibility seriously. Family members described him as someone full of life, engaged with his community, and committed to his obligations. As a father himself, he understood the weight of responsibility and the importance of being present despite the demands of a career that kept him away from home for extended periods. His cousin, Natalie Davis, maintained a close relationship with him and would later become the family spokesperson when questions about his death emerged. The extended family network provided support and connection that grounded him despite the transient nature of trucking life. Those who knew him personally emphasized a consistent characteristic. He was not someone who would abandon responsibilities or act impulsively in ways that contradicted his established character patterns. Tyrone was involved in a romantic relationship with a girlfriend whose identity has been protected in public reporting. The details of how they met, the duration of their relationship, and the nature of their connection remain subjects of investigation. What is known is that they were together enough to plan a vacation, suggesting a relationship with some degree of commitment and comfort. Family members and friends possessed varying levels of knowledge about the relationship. Some may have met the girlfriend, others may have only heard about her through Tyrone's mentions. The question of whether family members observed any concerning patterns or red flags in the relationship dynamics remains unanswered in public reporting. What friends and family knew about their interactions, any previous conflicts, or the general health of their relationship would become critically relevant after December 27, 2025. The couple made plans for a romantic vacation timed around the Christmas holiday season and the approaching New Year. They selected a cabin as their destination, suggesting a desire for privacy and a getaway from their normal routines. The decision to take this trip appeared to be mutual and planned in advance, not a spontaneous departure. Someone knew about their travel plans. Family members were aware they were going on a trip. The question of who specifically knew their destination, their planned route, and their expected return date would become important for establishing timelines and expectations. Tyrone had last communications with family members before departure, though the content and tone of those communications have not been detailed in public reporting. The couple left expecting to celebrate together and return home after a few days. Tyrone's social media, which maintained consistent daily posts, would soon go silent. His followers, accustomed to their morning motivation, would notice his absence. On December 27, 2025, Tyrone Davis Jr. and his girlfriend were traveling in or through Gainesville, Florida. The specific departure point, their exact route, and the purpose of being on that particular road at that particular time remain subjects requiring investigation. What is established is their presence on Southwest Archer Road near the I-75 overpass. Southwest Archer Road is a major thoroughfare in Gainesville. It serves as a significant route for local and through traffic, connecting to Interstate 75, one of the primary north-south highways on the eastern side of the United States. The location is characterized by regular traffic flow, commercial development, and the infrastructure typical of major road corridors. The area near the I-75 overpass creates a specific geographic context. Overpasses and underpasses create zones that are simultaneously public and isolated. While vehicles pass overhead or nearby constantly, the spaces beneath bridges can be shielded from direct view. The location is not remote wilderness but rather an urban/suburban corridor where someone could theoretically be injured and not immediately discovered despite the proximity of traffic. Weather conditions on December 27th and the specific time of day when the incident occurred would be relevant for understanding visibility, traffic patterns, and the likelihood of witnesses. Evening hours might mean reduced visibility. Clear weather would eliminate certain complications. These details contribute to understanding what happened and who might have seen it. When authorities responded to Southwest Archer Road near the I-75 overpass, they encountered a scene that required immediate interpretation. The physical location where Tyrone was found carries significance. Was he on the road itself, on the shoulder, under the bridge structure, or in another position? His specific location would indicate whether he was in an active traffic lane, had moved or been moved from another spot, or had fallen or been placed in that position. The presence or absence of certain evidence types matters. Blood spatter patterns can indicate the location of initial impact versus where someone came to rest. Trail patterns might show movement after injury. The position of his body, the condition of his clothing, and the presence or absence of personal items like a wallet, phone, keys, or identification would all contribute to understanding the sequence of events. Physical evidence from the scene would include any signs of vehicle involvement. Tire marks, skid marks, or debris could indicate a traffic incident. The distance from active traffic lanes would be relevant to whether he could have been struck by a passing vehicle or whether the injuries occurred through different means. The physics of the scene, the height of the overpass, the angle of any slopes, the presence of barriers or rails, creates a physical context that must align with any explanation of what occurred. Surveillance camera coverage in the area represents a critical investigative resource. Major thoroughfares and interstate overpasses often have traffic cameras for monitoring flow and incidents. Whether functional cameras capture the relevant time frame and location could provide objective evidence of vehicle movements, the presence of individuals, and the timing of events. Someone called 911 to report an injured person. The identity of the caller, the time of the call, and the specific information they reported form crucial elements of the timeline. Did a passing driver see someone on the side of the road and stop to investigate? Did someone who witnessed an incident place the call? Did the person who was with Tyrone make the call, or did they leave before emergency services arrived? The 911 call would contain specific details. The exact location provided, the description of the injured person's condition, whether the caller remained on scene or left before responders arrived, and any explanation offered for what happened. The dispatch records and recording of the call would establish these facts objectively. When first responders arrived, they documented Tyrone's condition. Was he conscious? Could he communicate? What was his level of responsiveness? The severity of his injuries would have been immediately apparent to trained emergency medical personnel. The nature of head trauma, the amount of blood loss, his vital signs, and his ability to provide any information about what happened all contribute to understanding both the medical situation and the investigative circumstances. Emergency medical response time matters for understanding whether faster intervention could have altered the outcome. The period between injury and treatment affects survival chances. particularly with head trauma. The documentation created by first responders provides an objective record of what they encountered and when. Tyrone was transported to a hospital in the Gainesville area. He arrived without identification and was admitted as a John Doe, the designation used when a patient's identity cannot be determined. This fact alone raises immediate questions. Who transports or accompanies someone to a hospital without providing their identity? If emergency services transported him from the scene, did they find no identification at the scene? If someone else brought him to the hospital, why did they not provide his name? The John Doe admission set in motion a 24-hour period during which Tyrone lay in a hospital bed while his family had no knowledge of his location or condition. Hospital staff treated his injuries, which were severe enough to require immediate attention. Medical personnel documented the nature and extent of his trauma, creating records that would later become critical to understanding what happened. Tyrone remained in the hospital for 2 days following his admission on December 27th. His condition was serious enough that survival was uncertain. The medical team's efforts to treat the blunt force trauma to his head continued, but the severity of the injury would ultimately prove fatal. On December 29, 2025, Tyrone Davis Jr. died. At some point in the initial aftermath, Tyrone's family received information about what happened. They were told that he had slipped and fell at a gas station. This explanation provided a simple narrative: an accidental fall resulting in injury. Gas station floors can be slippery. People do fall and sustain injuries. The explanation offered a non-suspicious cause. However, several immediate problems existed with this account. First, the location did not match. Tyrone was found on Southwest Archer Road near the I-75 overpass, not at a gas station. If he fell at a gas station, how did he end up at a different location? Who moved him? Why would someone move an injured person rather than calling for help at the location of the fall? Second, the severity of his injuries did not align with a simple slip and fall. While people can sustain serious injuries from falls, the specific nature of blunt force trauma to the back of the skull suggests a significant impact force. A slip and fall typically results in different injury patterns than what medical examination revealed. Third, no corroborating evidence emerged for a gas station incident. No witnesses from any gas station came forward. No surveillance footage from a gas station showing Tyrone falling was presented. No gas station employees reported an incident. The story existed without supporting evidence. Medical staff who treated Tyrone raised concerns from the beginning. The injuries they documented did not match the explanation of a simple fall. Their professional assessment, based on the specific characteristics of the trauma, indicated inconsistencies between the official story and the medical reality. When the initial gas station explanation proved untenable, the story changed. The Gainesville Police Department's investigation led detectives to a different theory. Tyrone jumped out of a moving vehicle while in traffic on Southwest Archer Road. According to this version, his girlfriend was driving when he voluntarily exited the vehicle while it was moving, sustaining his injuries when he hit the pavement. This theory attempted to explain the location and the severity of injuries. If someone jumps from a vehicle moving at highway speeds, they could sustain significant head trauma upon impact with the road surface. The location would match because the incident allegedly occurred on Southwest Archer Road where he was found. However, this explanation faced immediate and substantial problems. First, Tyrone's character and behavior patterns did not support such an action. Family members who knew him well adamantly rejected the idea that he would jump from a moving car. Nothing in his history suggested impulsive, self-destructive behavior. He was described as responsible, thoughtful, and committed to his family and community. Second, the logistics of the story raised questions. If he jumped from the vehicle, why didn't his girlfriend immediately stop? Why didn't she call 911 herself? If she witnessed him jump and sustain serious injuries, what would explain her failure to remain at the scene and provide assistance? How long was he alone before someone else discovered him and called for help? Third, the 24-hour delay in family notification becomes even more problematic under this scenario. If the girlfriend witnessed what happened, she knew his identity. Why did he remain a John Doe at the hospital? Why didn't she go to the hospital with him or follow to provide his information to medical staff? The jumping theory also failed to account for witness testimony. If someone jumped from a moving vehicle on a major thoroughfare, other drivers would likely have witnessed it. Traffic camera footage might have captured it. Yet no reports emerged of witnesses describing such an incident. The theory existed primarily as police interpretation rather than as an account supported by multiple independent sources. The most significant contradiction to both official explanations came from medical professionals who examined Tyrone. Hospital staff who treated him communicated directly with family members, including his cousin Natalie Davis. Their assessment was clear and professionally grounded. The injuries Tyrone sustained were not consistent with falling, not consistent with being pushed, and not consistent with anything involving a moving vehicle. This medical opinion directly contradicted both the gas station fall story and the jumping from a car theory. Medical professionals who specialize in trauma can distinguish between injury patterns caused by different mechanisms. A fall produces certain types of injuries. A vehicle collision produces others. Being struck by a vehicle creates specific trauma patterns. Jumping from a moving vehicle would create yet another recognizable set of injuries. The specific nature of Tyrone's head injury matters significantly. He sustained a skull fracture from blunt force trauma to the back of the head. The location, force, and pattern of this injury tell a story about what caused it. Blunt force trauma to the back of the skull typically requires a significant impact with a hard surface or object. The force needed to fracture a skull is substantial and measurable. Forensic pathologists and trauma specialists can analyze injury patterns to determine mechanism of injury. They examine the shape of wounds, the distribution of damage, the presence or absence of defensive injuries, and the physical characteristics of trauma. When medical staff stated that Tyrone's injuries did not match the explanations provided, they were offering professional expertise based on objective medical evidence. The difference between injuries from falls, vehicle accidents, and assaults is medically distinguishable. Falls typically produce injuries on the front or side of the body as people attempt to catch themselves. Vehicle exits at speed create road rash and rolling injuries along with impact trauma. The pattern seen in Tyrone's case evidently did not match these mechanisms according to medical assessment. Another critical element involves the timing of injury versus the timing of discovery. Medical examination can often estimate when an injury occurred based on various physiological factors. The amount of swelling, the characteristics of bleeding, the body's response to trauma, all provide clues about timing. The question of how long Tyrone lay injured before being found affects both the medical outcome and the investigative conclusions. If significant time elapsed between injury and treatment, the critical golden hour for trauma response may have been lost. Immediate treatment of severe head trauma can affect survival chances. Delayed treatment reduces those chances. The timeline also matters for establishing what the girlfriend knew and when she knew it. If the injury occurred at a specific time and location, where was she during the period between injury and discovery? What actions did she take? When did she learn about his condition? These questions remain inadequately answered in public reporting. The fact that Tyrone Davis Jr. spent 24 hours in a hospital without being identified represents one of the most troubling aspects of this case. Hospital admission as John Doe occurs when no identification can be found and no accompanying person provides information. Emergency situations sometimes create these circumstances. A person found unconscious with no identification and no witnesses might legitimately become a John Doe. But Tyrone was not alone. He had traveled with his girlfriend. The natural question follows. Where was she? If she was present when he was injured, why didn't she go to the hospital with him or provide his identity to responders? If she was not present when he was injured, when did they become separated? What explanation has she provided for not being available to identify him? The practical implications of the John Doe status are significant. Hospital staff could not contact family members because they did not know who the patient was. No one could provide medical history, information about allergies, or consent for treatment procedures. The patient lay isolated from his support system at the moment when that support might have mattered most. During those 24 hours, Tyrone's family experienced growing concern. Professional truckers maintain contact with family. When calls and texts went unanswered, concern would naturally escalate. The family would have tried repeatedly to reach him, each failed attempt increasing their worry. The process by which the family eventually learned of his hospitalization has not been fully detailed in public reporting. Did police eventually identify him through fingerprints or other means and notify family? Did the girlfriend eventually provide information? Did the family's own searching lead them to discover him? The mechanics of how identification finally occurred matter for understanding the sequence of events and who knew what when. When family members finally learned that Tyrone was hospitalized and located him, they discovered he had been listed as John Doe. The shock and confusion this would create for any family is substantial. Questions would immediately arise. Why didn't we know sooner? Who was with him? Why wasn't he identified? The wasted hours that might have mattered, the inability to make medical decisions, and the emotional toll of discovering a loved one has been hospitalized under such circumstances creates additional trauma layered onto the primary tragedy. The girlfriend's actions during and after the incident remain inadequately explained in available public information. Where was she during the 24 hours between the incident and family notification? Did she call anyone? Did she contact police to file a report? Did she go to a hospital herself for treatment or evaluation? Did she remain in Gainesville or travel elsewhere? When did she provide a formal statement to police? What did that statement contain? What explanation did she offer for not staying with Tyrone, not identifying him at the hospital, and not contacting his family? These are not accusatory questions but rather necessary investigative questions that any case of unexplained injury and death must address. The question of why someone would leave a romantic partner as an anonymous patient in a hospital requires explanation. The possible explanations range from innocent confusion to something more troubling. Perhaps she was also injured and sought treatment elsewhere. Perhaps she was in shock and didn't think clearly. Perhaps she had reasons for not wanting to be associated with the incident. Each possibility leads to different investigative directions. The Gainesville Police Department determined that Tyrone's death is not suspicious. This classification represents a specific law enforcement determination based on certain criteria. Not suspicious does not necessarily mean fully explained or no questions remain. It generally means that investigators do not currently believe a crime has been committed. The speed of this determination raises questions given the contradictions in evidence. The medical evidence contradicted the proposed explanation. The circumstances included changing stories and a 24-hour identification delay. Yet the death was classified as not suspicious. What criteria led to this conclusion? What evidence satisfied investigators that no criminal activity occurred? The gap between medical evidence and police theory creates a troubling inconsistency. When medical professionals state injuries are not consistent with the official explanation, but police maintain the explanation regardless, something is misaligned. Either the medical assessment is incorrect, the police theory needs revision, or critical information exists that is not publicly available. The police have acknowledged the investigation is ongoing. This statement appears contradictory to the not suspicious determination. If the investigation continues, what questions remain under investigation? What evidence is still being gathered or analyzed? The distinction between not suspicious and not criminal may be relevant. Something can be non-criminal but still suspicious. Something can lack evidence of crime but still contain unexplained elements. Police investigations generate substantial documentation that typically remains confidential during active investigations. Witness statements have been collected, though their content is not public. The girlfriend provided a formal statement to police, but that statement has not been released. Other potential witnesses may have provided information. Surveillance footage from the area has been reviewed. Traffic cameras near I-75 and along Archer Road may have captured relevant vehicles and timeframes. The results of that review have not been shared publicly. If footage exists showing what happened, it would provide objective evidence. If no footage captured the incident, That absence would also be significant. Cell phone records and GPS data from both Tyrone and his girlfriend would establish timelines and locations with precision. Modern phones track location continuously. Call records, text messages, and app usage create a detailed timeline of activity. Data from the girlfriend's phone would show her movements and communications before, during, and after the incident. Vehicle examination results would document any damage, evidence of collision, or other physical evidence. Whose vehicle were they using? Was it Tyrone's, the girlfriend's, or a rental? The condition of that vehicle and any evidence found in it could support or contradict various theories. The physical evidence collected at the scene has not been detailed publicly. Tyrone's clothing would be examined for evidence. Blood patterns, DNA evidence, fiber evidence, and trace evidence all contribute to forensic analysis. Personal effects found at the scene or not found despite expectation would be relevant. Case details remain largely confidential. Police investigations typically do not release detailed evidence during active investigations. Several reasons support this practice: protecting witness privacy, preserving evidence integrity, preventing contamination of potential witness memory, and maintaining tactical advantage if the case develops into a criminal proceeding. However, the lack of public information creates frustration for families seeking answers, and for communities wanting to understand what happened to a member of their community. The balance between investigative necessity and public transparency becomes contentious when a death involves unexplained circumstances and changing explanations. The distinction between not suspicious and not criminal requires clarification. Police might believe no crime occurred while simultaneously acknowledging they cannot fully explain all circumstances. Alternatively, they might have information indicating the incident was accidental, but be unable to share that information publicly for legal or privacy reasons. Tyrone Davis Sr. articulated what he wants with direct simplicity. "All I really want is answers." He is not demanding prosecution of someone not yet identified. He is not calling for financial compensation. He is asking for basic information about what happened to his son. His statement continued, "He didn't deserve this." The grief of a parent who has lost a child combines with the frustration of not understanding how or why that loss occurred. The father's public statement emphasized that he wants candles and prayers and answers. This simple formulation expresses grief, spirituality, and the need for truth. The candles represent memorial and remembrance. The prayers acknowledge faith and community support. The answers address the human need to understand tragedy and find meaning or at least explanation in loss. The dignity with which Tyrone Sr. has approached this situation speaks to his character and his understanding that his son's case has become public. He speaks for a son who can no longer speak for himself. This role places tremendous weight on a grieving parent, requiring them to balance personal emotion with public advocacy. Cousin Natalie Davis has functioned as family spokesperson, particularly in articulating the medical findings that contradict official explanations. Her willingness to speak publicly and her direct communication of what hospital staff told the family provides crucial information that might otherwise remain unknown to the public. The family presents a collective position. They do not believe Tyrone jumped from a moving car. This belief stems from their knowledge of his character, his behavior patterns, and their assessment that such an action would be completely inconsistent with who he was. Family knowledge of an individual's character carries weight in assessing the plausibility of different scenarios. The family insists on a proper investigation that addresses the contradictions and explains the inconsistencies. They support system rallies not around accepting the official explanation, but around demanding thorough investigation that can provide credible answers. The extended family structure provides mutual support during a difficult time while maintaining focus on seeking truth. A Change.org petition was created calling for justice for Tyrone Davis Jr. The petition serves multiple purposes. It raises public awareness of the case. It applies public pressure on investigators to continue pursuing answers. It provides a mechanism for community members to express support for the family, and it creates a documented record of public concern about the case. The hashtags associated with the case have spread across social media. Hashtag Justice4DRO directly calls for justice, Hashtag I am Tyrone Davis Jr personalizes the case and emphasizes his humanity. Hashtag Davistrong reflects family unity. And hashtag I am a trucker connects the case to the broader trucking community that Tyrone was part of. Social media campaigns have proven effective in maintaining attention on cases that might otherwise fade from public awareness. The sustained presence of these hashtags keeps Tyrone's case visible and accessible to people seeking information or wanting to offer support. Community members have shared similar stories of losses involving unexplained circumstances, creating solidarity among families facing similar frustrations with investigation processes. The families' demands are specific and reasonable. They want full transparency in the investigation, which means detailed information about what evidence exists and what conclusions can be drawn from that evidence. They seek independent review of evidence, recognizing that an outside perspective might identify issues or considerations that the initial investigation missed or downplayed. They want thorough interrogation of all witnesses. This implies concern that perhaps not all relevant people have been questioned, or that questioning was not sufficiently detailed to extract all relevant information. They want proper classification of the death, suggesting that the current, not suspicious, classification may be premature or inappropriate given the evidence. They seek accountability for those responsible. This statement does not presume guilt of any specific person, but rather establishes that if someone bears responsibility for Tyrone's death, whether through criminal action, negligence, or other means, that person should be held accountable. They want the medical examiner's complete findings made public, believing that full disclosure of the medical evidence will support their position that the official explanation is inconsistent with objective medical reality. Ultimately, the family seeks justice for Tyrone. The definition of justice in this context remains open because the full facts remain unclear. Justice might mean criminal prosecution if evidence supports charges. Justice might mean a corrected official narrative that accurately reflects what happened. Justice might mean acknowledgement that the case was mishandled initially and requires renewed investigation. Whatever form justice takes, it begins with truth and answers to the questions that currently remain unanswered. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.